Hey guys, welcome to Chief Concerns, part one of our 2-week-long Super Bowl preview. We're here with our hosts, former tight end Jason Dunn and former cornerback Eric Warfield. Today we're breaking down the Super Bowl between the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and our Kansas City Chiefs. And to help us do that, we have one of the best fullbacks of all time and longtime Kansas City Chief, Tony Richardson. Tony, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. It's obviously, great to see two of my brothers. I got the pretty eye bandit Warfield, and I got the man that's going to be late to his own funeral service.
Hey man, I hope so. Hey, I say it all the time. Hey, look, I hope I am late to my own funeral. I hope I am.
JD, you're gonna live to be about 200 years old because they ain't gonna never be able to get you to show up on time. They're like, man, we'd like to say a few words about JD. And all of a sudden, JD, you go walk in there, here you go, here he is. Yeah, you're going to be about 200, JD, by the time we're going to be able to put you lay you to rest.
Well, that's what I'm hoping for. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Now, so before we get into what we saw last weekend, I think this is just something that I think a lot of Chief fans have noticed, is that we've become in just 2 or 3 years, we've become that team that everyone hates, right? Everyone loves to hate on, right? Patriots were that team of the last 15, 20 years. And now it seems like already we have become that team. Why is that? Do you guys remember when you guys were playing the team that you guys like, oh, here we go again? I mean, was that, I guess, 05, 06? Was the Patriots, were you guys already like in that zone when the Patriots already began, when they started their dynasty?
It's just a matter. The hate comes from other team fans. Everybody wants to see their team represented in the Super Bowl. They want to see their team successful. I can't say that I was a part of a Chiefs team that had that kind of a run, but my college team had that kind of a run. We ended up winning 3 national championships out of the 4 years that I was there. And people used to hate here in Nebraska this, Nebraska that. But that's how it is when you're winning. Is because those other fans want to see their teams in those same situations. So you get a bunch of the non supporters that come out with all that scrutiny and bad talk. But I mean, hell, I don't mind it. Let them keep coming out as long as my team's winning.
Yeah. I feel like, especially with like the Patriots, through that whole era, I think initially like the first few years you're tired of hearing them, but then it's just like, obviously when I came to the Jets and they were still rolling, I'm like, we're still dealing with these cats. Now I'm in their division. It really became, within like internally, like players wise, like, only team we really hated was the Raiders, obviously for obvious reasons. And Denver kind of toward the end, we didn't really like them clowns too much. But the Patriots, like, when I came to becoming the Jets, I'm like, it was a level of respect because you understand like how hard it is, year in and year out. And, so if teams want to hate the Chiefs, then hate them because at the end of the day, they're one offsides from being in 3 straight Super Bowls. You know what I mean? 3. And to be able to have that, to have that, and the thing about it, which, not to take anything away from Tom Brady, but, Mahomes is 24, 25. You know what I mean? So, like, this dude got a long time to go. And the fact that you look at their roster and it's like, they got nothing but young players that, that's going to be around for a while. And so you look at that team and what Andy Reid's been able to accomplish, in I guess kind of a short period of time, now working with Mahomes is nothing but amazing. You look at, Bill Belichick, that was a run that took a while. It wasn't like the first year Tom started playing and all of a sudden they had that type of success. It took some time. And with the Chiefs, it's for me, still being a Chiefs fan, it's crazy. And I don't talk junk because I'm just like, oh, you just turn on the film. I ain't got, you don't have to say nothing when you got running by everyone. So I ain't got to say a word. I just show up and watch the game.
Yeah, you know what? I think a lot of it is 2 things to it, right? First off, is when you are winning and everybody's getting tired of seeing, of course, Patrick's doing a little bit more commercials. You start seeing that little hair, curly hair up there, and talking with that voice. You start seeing some of that, and the success that teams have. People, yeah, they're gonna definitely hate on it. Like you said, you want your team there, but also too, part of it is like, look, let somebody else win, right? Let somebody else do this, and so. They just been so dynamic what they've been able to do the last 2 years in the record. So we're talking about a 2-year record, right? Of just regular season. I mean, they just been really just whooping tail, man, and just taking names. They really have. Yeah. So that's a lot of where the hate comes in. And of course, it's just a projection because you want to be there, right? I hate the Chiefs because they want to be there. So, look, New England got out for a long time, and I hated seeing them win. And you always root for the underdogs. You really do. That's what you kind of you're trying to do. Root for the guys that don't have a chance, like give an opportunity. It's almost the same thing now, like Tom Brady. Look, I'm not really a huge Tom Brady fan. But the guy's successful. You can't take anything away from him. But somebody's like, look, somebody asked me today, is like, do you want to see Tom Brady win or do you really care? I'm like, look, I want the Chiefs to win. I want to see Mahomes get another win to start this dynasty the right way. Tom, he's won 6 already. He's been 10 Super Bowls, 10.
Same.
Come on now. Hey, look, it's time. Tom, hey, go ahead and retire, brother.
Yeah, it's funny too, JD, you say that because it's like, I think when the Patriots were having their run, like it was at Boston, because I live in, I'm right here in New York. So it was at Boston, kind of like stuck up, like, you know what I mean? And they were like so close and, but everybody, you hear, but I don't think one person's ever said one thing negative about Mahomes. And it's about obviously his family, his upbringing, the way he carries himself, like all of that right there. It's like, if you hate on him, then you need to go pray, because it's like, how you gonna hate on this man? Like, it's done nothing but, be a team leader, support his guys, like, and obviously the player had I think it was Hartman, Nico Hartman that had the fumble, right before, and then who was the first person over there, Mahomes, and like that shows a lot of maturity, and like how can you hate on a guy like that? You know what I mean? I don't think I've ever heard anybody say anything negative about him, other than him sounding like Kermit the Frog. But outside of that, it's all good. But yeah, so you can't, like the Patriots, like they were just like so arrogant and all that kind of stuff. Where the Chiefs, like I really don't see the hate. I see just the fact, like JD said, just the fact the other teams wish they were there, and they wish they had that type of quarterback, and they wish that most teams don't have 2 players if you combine their speed can run as fast as the cheetah. So that one cheetah is faster than 2 guys combined. So hate on him you want to, you can't catch him.
But you're also in a different region, though, T Rich, because you got basketball that kind of plays into it with the Knicks and the Celtics. It was basically bigger with the Lakers and the Celtics, but also with the Red Sox and the Yankees.
Yep.
Like that's as big as baseball got when it came to sports. So that little rivalry played a lot into it. And then you have obviously Jets, Giants against the Patriots. Yeah. So that kind of made that rivalry kind of bitter amongst fans.
Yeah.
Right. And I think a little bit about why the Patriots were that hated team. Of course, they were winning all the time, but also you have the Tuck rule, you had the spy gate, about a lot of shady things that went on, which added to people. Oh, you know what? I don't like them because they're not winning, because they're winning. I don't like them because the shady stuff that's going on. So that added to that mystique.
Yeah, shenanigans is what I call it. Shenanigans.
Yeah, shenanigans.
Look, man, look how long our drought was. Like we went 69, 59, which one of those years? Since we won a Super Bowl?
Yeah, 69. Yeah, 69, 70, something like that. Yeah.
Let us enjoy the moment. Let us dwell on this. Yeah. You got other teams that got Detroit Lions have never won once. So like those teams, I understand. Right. But for us, it's been forever. Like I never thought I would see the day the Kansas City Royals would win the World Championship. They got one. Just because when we were in Kansas City at the time, T-Rich, they were bad. Like they were just bad. And so all of a sudden,
you think about it, they went to back-to-back Super Bowls, world champion, back-to-back World Series.
And so you get to see them experience it, and all of a sudden, we make the right pick in the draft with the right player, and all of a sudden we're sitting right there with a ring on our finger. Well, they are with a ring on their fingers. It's a joy as a fan, as a former player, to finally have that.
But maybe people, what they're seeing also too, man, is the future of everything, right? Because these guys also young. Like you said, Patrick Mahomes is 24 years old. Travis Kelce ain't going nowhere anytime soon. Tyreek Hill ain't going nowhere anytime soon. So they see these things like, look, in the next really like 4 or 5 years, these jokes will keep doing it year after year. They keep everything tight, keep Andy, and then whoever decides, whenever Andy decides to hang it up, these guys are going to be tough, man. They're going to be tough to beat. With that group of guys, that core group of guys there, they're going to be hard to beat, man. And it's the same thing like with Brady. Brady had Brewski, he had Vrabel, he had, McGinnis, you know what I'm saying? And some of the wide receivers. But hey, they're gonna be tough to beat. Period.
I got a question for y'all, because I get this question quite a bit. If Mahomes went to a different team and didn't get drafted into that system, is Mahomes still Mahomes? What do you guys think? Because for me, I'm just like, Jimmy Ray would have a heart attack if Patrick would have rolled right and threw left. He would have tore 2 ACLs. So you think about that, like not a lot of coaches are gonna be like, man, you can't do that. You know what I mean? But the fact that they allow him to just be him and it works. Like this cat rolls all the way right and sling that bug. That's like quarterback 101 based on what I know about quarterback. You don't ever do that.
Yeah, but T-Rich, you got to go out. You got to go out and show it first before they give you that kind of leeway to go out and do those kind of plays. Like we were talking a couple weeks ago, like we got one of the most complicated playbooks I've ever seen within a NFL, within a football program, college or pro. Mm-hmm. We got guys running backside, coming routes going the other way. Pitching to fullbacks running underneath and tight ends running underneath. We do it. We have almost a backyard game book, but we can do that because of our quarterback. If he didn't have the tools and the talent that he had, we wouldn't get away. He wouldn't be allowed to do the things that he's done.
And that's almost, and also too, that's kind of a good point. Like T-Rich was talking about. So it was like Stephen A. said the same thing. Like, look, if Deshaun Watson was in Kansas City, he would be Patrick Mahomes. I don't believe that. I'm sorry. I don't believe that whatsoever. No. Look, Deshaun Watson had D-Hop down there. You know what I'm saying? He done had David Johnson. He had what's his name? Fournette. Was that the running back? I can't think of his name. But
I just don't think Deshaun Watson has the talent that Patrick Mahomes has. Take nothing from Deshaun. He's a great talent, great quarterback.
Yeah. He's a great talent.
He's just not able to make the plays that Patrick can make.
Right. I mean, we're talking about a special, like you said, a special talent man with a special arm who make any throw that you could possibly think about making. He can do it.
Yeah.
So,
but even his scrambles, like he takes out running and he takes a little stop and guys just run on by. Like it's like he's playing around out there. So he just has a different knack for football than everybody else does.
Yeah, I was at I was fortunate. I came with the commissioner last year for the AFC Championship game, and I think it was a play right before the half where they needed a big play, and he scrambled and went in and scored. I'm like, that might be the greatest play I think I've ever seen. Like I think it was like a 30-yard run or something like that, and he stopped and then went in the end zone. They don't have no chance. That was unbelievable. That was like unbelievable. I don't think I've ever seen a play in football like that ever, and probably won't ever see another one like that.
And especially because the game is so fast. Like I didn't realize, coming from college to the pros, like the speed of the game goes up to like different levels. You got guys out there that are like 6'5", 300 pounds that's running 4.5 easy. And so, they're getting from sideline to sideline. And he's just out there, and he doesn't even run that fast. And he's out there just making big plays because that's just his playmaking ability. He just has an awareness for the game that nobody else does, and he's able to use his talents a lot different than most players. So I can't say that if Deshaun was, with our system, just give him our exact same team, that he would be able to make the plays that Patrick does.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to go to our first question, which is the game, going back to the game, AFC Championship on Sunday. Chiefs won 38-24, going to, back-to-back Super Bowls now. What were your initial takeaways from this one? I know there's a lot of different takeaways here. People say they love the way our offense was going. People want to talk about the secondary. Eric, I'm sure you noticed some things from the secondary that you loved. But what were you guys' big takeaways from Sunday?
My overall take was I was pleased with it. I know we went back and forth, fighting about the running game and trying to get certain guys established. Well, heck, we didn't even know if CEH would be back, and he came in and he played well for us. But Patrick, having the significant injuries that he had with the concussion and only playing with 9 functional toes, came in and put on a hell of a show. So, but that's what he does. That's who he is. So you wouldn't expect nothing less from him. And to see the our two main guys, step up the way that they always do every single game. Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. And I just got a phone call from a former player yesterday. Like, how are they not able to stop these guys? And who are you gonna double? You can't double Travis, you can't double Tyreek, because the rest of the guys are gonna pick you apart. So you just got to play an honest defense, hoping that you can stop them.
Yeah, I think the thing that stuck out to me was, just the resilience of being down. Obviously, the Bills jumped up. I guess it was 9-3 or something like that, and for them to be down and just not waver because they've been there before. Like, obviously last year they were in 2 games in the playoffs that probably could have, most teams would have folded, being down, and they just kept coming back. So I think just the fact, like, now they have that confidence, like, hey, if we get down by 15, even in the Super Bowl last year against the 49ers,
Yep.
it's play here, but they never wavered. And I think the calmness that they all showed collectively of, like, everybody, no one got up, no one got down at all. So that's the thing that probably was most impressive to me. It was just like the fact of how they stayed together and just continue to just, keep working together. Because eventually, like you said, like, I'm sitting there in the same thing, like somebody gonna have to stop one of these guys, and they can't stop either one. Like, I think the game when they played in Vegas out of the Raiders, I think it might have been the Chargers. I'm not quite sure. And it was the end of the game, and Travis Kelce standing flat-footed in the end zone wide open. I'm like, the ball coming to him. Y'all.
Exactly.
I'm like,
and they weren't even close to him.
I'm talking about nobody. It was like from here to where we. I'm like, what y'all doing? What kind of defense y'all in right now?
He could have gave a fair catch.
It looked like a fair catch. He was just like, I'm here. And so that's a thing that, obviously I'm not getting into like predictions or anything like that for the upcoming Super Bowl, but you just can't stop it. There's too much stuff going on. I mean, there's in the speed of the game in which they're playing, all of a sudden you prepare for this 1 week and then they do something like you said, that playbook is extensive. And, now you give Andy Reid 2 weeks to prepare, man, I'm telling you, they might fly me down there and have me run a fullback wheel or something. I better pull both hamstrings, but you never know. It's crazy. Like, they just be pulling stuff out of the hat. So it's going to be interesting to see, this matchup coming up.
I tell you what, and that's kind of, I'll piggyback off that, man. It's probably the creative way that they actually run the football. So they get away from the traditional way of doing it. CEH comes in, makes some yards. Williams comes in, makes some yards. Then all of a sudden they get Merkler on a reverse, and then they start pitching and give it to Tyreek Hill for the first down. And so the creative way that they running the football, because they had to do it the traditional way, is what kind of stood out to me. Because I'm just like, look, you need to get this running game going, right? Because if not, they're just going to sit back and allow you to throw underneath. And that's one thing they was just like, look, if we play this way, we can get them. Well, what do you do to make teams honest? You got to run the football. You got to make a defense honest, man. You got to make them cover the entire field. And so when you start doing that with the speed that you have, then you get, hey, look, put in this guy's hand, put in this other guy's hand. And so it's just that the creative way that they run the football. Another thing too, man, I think just defensively, it was really kind of not just maintaining, but these guys, they was able to hold it up when they needed to. They stepped in when they needed to. Thornhill played a tremendous job. Tyree, Matthew, Honey Badger played a tremendous job. Thorson, defensive ends. I mean, these guys came up big when they needed to, and so you need that, especially like in the championship game. But then when you get to the Super Bowl, hopefully that carries over. That momentum carries over into this next game because you're gonna need it. I mean, shoot. The thing is, man, these weapons coming up, and I know we'll talk about that. But this is it's going to be a different animal from what you played with the first time. So, I think the defense, man, going to do a good job the very next game. But that's what kind of stood out to me was those two things.
Oh yeah.
Now we kind of alluded to this before. We got to the first question was the what it means for the city. I know you guys played there for a long time, but what does the potential of a back-to-back mean for Kansas City? And I'm sure you guys have a lot of feelings on this one, a lot of emotions seeing the fans that, that would come out for you guys for all these years. And, finally they're getting this, maybe a dynasty. Well, what is your kind of thoughts on that?
I mean, it's basically to me like, we finally made it. The first one was something that solidified, well, I wouldn't say solidified it, but it gave us something that we've been wanting for so long. It's never thought you'd ever get it. And all of a sudden you finally got that hump off your back and you got to the big dance and you won it all. So now it's a matter of going back in and solidifying who you really are as a team, as a city. Are we just a one-hit wonder, or are we going to be this? Are we creating a dynasty? And I think with what we have at quarterback, it's good to say we're creating a dynasty. I think that we can bring in a lot of whether young talent, old talent, to stick in our offense to where Patrick's going to make them look good no matter what. So.
Yeah, I think for me, since I guess being in Kansas City since 1995, and just really I was blown away, like being in the locker room and, Mr. Hunt, Lamar Hunt, coming up to me. And I think my sister was deployed at the time. And he walks over, like, hey, how's your sister Sean doing? I'm looking like, man, first of all, how you even know my name, let alone know my sister's name? But you know what? And that's the thing, obviously, JD and Edub can attest to, like, we always wanted to be able to present that trophy, that bears Mr. Hunt's name
That has his
back
name
to the
on
Hunt
it.
family. Exactly. And so obviously we came up short, a play 2 years ago. And then last year when I was at the game, just to see that emotion, because it was like, that's all we really ever wanted to do. Obviously, because we know if we present that trophy, then we're going to the dance. And so now that, it's been accomplished, it's just like now, like Edub said, it's like building that dynasty. And it's like, finally, because we had always said that, man, like, if we ever win a Super Bowl in Kansas City, man, this place is going to be nuts. You know what I mean? Like, because our fans were always so supportive. And we always would say that, like, man, we came, close to at least, especially in the playoff. Well, we never had a playoff win, but at least having some really good years. And our mind would be like, man, if we ever get a chance, because the love that the fans would show us, was always so great. But if we ever got a chance to get to that dance, man, Kansas City, I was like, they'll be dancing in the streets. And so obviously we saw them dancing at that parade. I watched from the house. And man, it was insane. I mean, you've never seen. And now people send me pictures of like how Union Station is lit up, before the AFC Championship game. The whole city is red like that. It's just, I saw the Royals and I was like, okay, that's nice. And that's the blue and all, that's great. But I was even telling my boys, I said, man, the Chiefs ever make it to the Super Bowl, man, you're going to see a parade like none other. And if they get it done this year, man, the parade gonna probably start in New York and make his way all the way down to Kansas City. You know what I mean? It's gonna be like, COVID what? Yeah, COVID what? And you ain't gonna see a mask in sight
at all.
So that was always my thing, is just being so happy for the Hunt family, because what they've done for Kansas City, what they've done for all of us, just the family that they've been, to be able now to have that trophy and to be able to get it again, and now going to represent Kansas City is what it's all about.
Okay, so I'm gonna go a different way with it. So what it mean to the city? I'm talking about just in commerce, talking about building the city up even more from what it is. Now you're talking about actually getting a pro basketball team there, right? Might be one of those things now that the real talks about getting somebody like that there. You can walk down the street with your chest up high, because now they ain't just like, Kansas City, is that where you at? And it's no, look, now we're on national television every other week, showing the game. I mean, that's what it is. It just brings so much just to that area in itself, just to the Midwest. And so when you're talking about just the credibility, I know that's the credibility that you get. You need credibility. And so now Kansas City, it's credible, right? Them jokers, look, they are the ones. They the ones everybody got to come for. So, when you decide to come out to the Plains, Kansas City, we ain't just talking about like Kansas and what city is Kansas City in? Is it in Kansas City, Missouri? Look, everybody's gonna know where it's at, where the stadium is, what it's all about. And it's just gonna bring a whole different energy just to the area, man. So I think that's what it is, just commerce in itself. But I'm thinking, man, you're talking about pro basketball team at this moment. I mean, why not?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's funny too, because Dante Hall, lives not too far from me, and he'll tell you, obviously the restaurant actually closed down, but there's it was a Kansas City sports bar like 2 blocks from my apartment. Mm-hmm. And now, like when I'm in New York City, I see people walking down the street with Chiefs gear on, like swagged out, like hats, championship hats, and shirts. And even at the bar, they panned at the Super Bowl, they panned the local bar down the street too. There was 200 Chiefs fans in there, packed in there watching the game. So now it's like you said, it's not like, oh, where's Kansas City? No, now when you see that, that arrowhead, you see the championship hat, I don't care, it's everywhere. Like up and down, obviously, it's a pandemic, so you don't see that many people out, but you see a lot of people out now rocking all around the world, and everybody knows that, Kansas City's on the map.
We were tubing in Lawrence, Indiana, which is maybe like about an hour outside of Cincinnati. And so when we're up here, I'm looking at all these people that, on the hills and stuff like that. And the guy is letting the people come down off the tubes and whatnot. Got a big old Kansas City. I'm like, where this joker come from?
Where he come from? Yeah.
And he just, like you said, man, he's rocking his gear. Of course, I had my toboggan on, with the Kansas City. Yeah. So of course, everybody's like, oh, Kansas City, yeah, Kansas City. Yep. I had my mask and see where I am. I was like, yeah, that's right. Mahomes, you see it. He was like, yeah. So it's what it is, man. So I don't even care if you're a fan. You just jumped on the bandwagon. I'm good with you. You good with me. So we good.
So
yeah, exactly.
Since you say that, it's and I keep making the comparison to Golden State. Like Golden State came out of nowhere, and all because of Steph Curry.
Yeah.
And we almost have the same thing with Patrick Mahomes. You know, this little kid out of nowhere comes up putting up astronomical numbers, and we think it's a fluke. All of a sudden, he comes back the next year, he does it, wins the championship. Right now, he's in position to win another championship. You know, you were seeing Steph Curry jerseys all across the U.S. Golden State jerseys. Nobody cared 2 cents about Golden State.
Yeah.
You know, top selling team and merchandise and everything right now. You know, Kansas City's kind of right there doing that same thing, and it goes a long way with social media because you got such a broad perspective that you can, market to, instead of like what we had. You know, all we had was a newspaper, and every now and then you get a
yeah, exactly.
Just because something, if you did something good or did something bad, but like now it's social media has made things such a wide open perspective to where you can find fans anywhere and be a fan from anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had to deal with Jason Whitlock lighting us up.
You ain't kidding.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, remember those days.
Dude hated me.
Man, he would give us that report at the end of the year. He'd be lighting people up that day. You cut to the white meat, bro. Like, that's harsh. Like, man, this man got a family. You over here talking bad about people like that.
It's funny because it's got to a point like you're on social media and you're arguing, as a fan, arguing with other fans, and you just see all these other fans that if you're a Chief fan, they think you're a bandwagon. They think you just jumped on board 2 years ago. It's like, nah, I've been around. I've been around for a while here, buddy. Like I'm not just a new fan. But
Right.
like it's come to the point now where when I was a kid in elementary school wearing a Chiefs jersey to school, no one would ever say, "Oh, bandwagon." People are like, "Oh, you're a Chief fan? Oh, that's interesting." But then now it's like you wear a Chief, you support anything that's Chiefs related. It's like, "Oh, bandwagon, you must be a new fan." So it's bittersweet.
I was at a sports bar watching the Cleveland game, and these girls had flown in from Missouri. I didn't know they flew in from Missouri, and so all I had was a Chiefs hat on. Everything else was just Nike stuff. And so after the game, we won. The girl was like, so I'm assuming you're a bandwagon, huh? I was like, yeah, that's me. I'm one of those bandwagons.
yeah, exactly. I got a bandwagon.
So later on, some dude walks by, like, oh no, he played for the Chiefs, and so she was so embarrassed. It's like, what am I supposed to say?
hey, and Mahomes is getting that basketball money too. So that's
you ain't kidding.
That's getting that
when you know
Steph Curry
you
money.
made it.
Yeah, you getting that Steph Curry money.
But so moving on to this week, or next week. But on Monday we learned. I thought this was kind of interesting. So Sammy Watkins and Le'Veon Bell said on Monday that they're ready to go for the Super Bowl. The day after the AFC Championship game, that game's just as important. I would think that they'd be ready to go. If they're ready the day after the game that we played, I thought they'd be ready to go. So I was kind of questioning on that, but that wasn't the big news Monday. So those two said they're going to play the Super Bowl, but then we learned that Eric Fisher did tear his Achilles for real on Monday. And then so that means we'll be without Mitchell Schwartz, our right tackle, and Eric Fisher, left tackle, when it comes to the Super Bowl. How much of a concern is this going into next weekend against Tampa Bay's front? Are you guys concerned at all about, Jason, you've alluded to our offensive line kind of struggles we've had recently. What kind of concern is this for you guys?
I'll tell you what, to me, man, the concern is, when you have the type of pass rush, the defensive line, the front that they have with Tampa Bay, it's a big concern. It's a major concern. And the thing is, because if you don't have time to get the ball out your hand, I mean, Patrick got that quick release. Him getting the ball out of his hand wouldn't really be that significant. But if you don't give him enough time and the pressure that's coming in is going to be tough. It's going to be tough to handle that, especially with a guy that hadn't been in there. I mean, Fisher's your best guy on the offensive line, right? And then all of a sudden he gets hurt. And then you got this guy that has to protect the backside of the quarterback. Woo, man, look. And I'll tell you what, I know for a fact, they don't mind taking extra hits if they need to. I mean, this is the one game that you're like, look, just keep leaning on him. Keep hitting it. Whatever you need to do to disrupt it. Yeah, he has, he just was in concussion protocol a couple weeks ago. He's got a bad toe. He got the turf toe. Look, step on his toe when you go by him. I don't give you, just kind of hit him. Just give him a little bit here. So it's going to be those things that is going to come out. And so, like I said, man, look, this is do or die right here. This is for the whole thing, you bang on this whole thing. So that's a big concern for me. But it's going to be tough. It is. It's going to be tough, man, against a defense. But if we can hold up, and I look at it like this, having T. Rich in there, I don't think you got to do max protection, but you got to do something to chip maybe those guys, of course, on the defensive end side, and, just kind of pick things up. Patrick does a great job now as far as slide his offensive line, his protection, certain ways. And so if they can just make sure that they understand that aspect of it, that way he can get the guys open, give him some time to throw. So that's it, pretty much.
Yeah, I have to agree. So I had Eric Bieniemy was my running back coach when I was with the Vikes. And so he would, and EB would put the pass protection each week. So each week we had a plan, based on who we were playing. And obviously, we had Brian McKinney, and he was, Big Mac was probably one of the best offensive linemen at that particular time. But we always had to find ways to, be creative. And I think this will be no different, because now you're going to have to, you got to move him in the pocket. He's not going to be doing 7-step drops. I mean, that just doesn't, with JPP out there, you got Sue in the middle. You're not doing 7-step drops. I mean, occasionally you will, to kind of maybe keep them off balance, but you can't make it. You can't have it, like Jimmy Ray would say, you can't have a steady diet of that. So you're gonna have to keep him. You got to move him out of the pocket. I mean, plays like obviously Henny ran, which was that sprint right option. So that play, that we threw to Tyreek to get the first down, to secure the win, getting them on the move, those kind of things, screen draws. Getting the guys up the field, but it will not be a 7-step drop type of game, because the tackles can't hold up. You know what I mean? And that's no knock against the guys who are going to have to step up and play. It's just a reality. Like, them cats get paid too, and them cats can get after the quarterback. So we can't get him hit, and that's the biggest thing. We can't, this ain't the game where we need him back in, in concussion protocol or on the sideline, because this ain't the game to be putting Henny in there. I like the backup quarterback, and I believe this ain't the game. This ain't the game you want him to have to go in there. So they'll have a plan.
No disrespect to him at all, right? No disrespect to him.
No, not at all.
Yeah, this is what it is.
No. Mm-hmm. Man, JPP a monster out there, man. You don't need that type of drama in your life.
I mean, see, that's where I say, like, Buffalo's got a great defense. Buffalo's got a really good defense. Yep. And when Fisher went down, I thought that, I can't think of the guy's name, the backup. He came in, he did well enough. And I think that with our offensive coaches and assistants, that we're able to scheme something up to protect that front side. Is that the front or back side on the left?
Backside.
That's going to be the backside of the quarterback. And then you have a quarterback, a running back that's obviously going to sit that side and chip and help them on the backside. The main concern with Tampa is their secondary. I thought going into the game in the season where we played them, we beat them pretty good. Mm-hmm. After they played a horrible game against LA, and LA had 2 receivers that just chopped them up for 300 yards. I think that our receivers core, including the tight end, is going to be too much, even with the pass rush that they have. Shaq Barrett's one of the best in the NFL. Yeah. Jason Pierre-Paul, he's been a great pass rusher since he came into the league, and Sue also. So they had and 2 good linebackers, and Levante David and the other guy. So they have a great front 7. I just think that we have way too much offensively overall, that even with Fisher being out, we will come up with enough of a game plan to protect that backside.
Yeah, and one thing JD had made mention earlier, talking about last week, the concern with the running game, the best recipe to throw that pass rush down is a running game. Because all of a sudden you get that running game going, you get the momentum going, then you can get into your play action, your 7-7. You can start doing those kind of things. But if Brady starts popping big plays, all of a sudden it's 21-10 or something like that, and then we're forced to have to pass the ball, and your quarterback then has to 7-7 drops. That's not what you want, because that thing can go. I mean, it's really the recipe for what the Giants, when they had Tuck and and that's what they were like, man, we got it. Once they got into Brady's mind and hitting him, then they took him out of the game. So we can't have that situation where, now we're forced to have to pass the ball, and you get that pass rush, coming up the field. So we don't need that at all.
And what I'll say is this, T, the good thing about with the Chiefs, they're a first pass team, right? That's what they do best. So
that's true.
Us become a one-dimensional on the pass game. Shoot, it plays in their favor. I think sometimes what you do is now you do a little delay, delay run,
Oh yeah.
Just get up the field a little bit, Williams act like he's going to chip, maybe a couple little, not slants, but I'm thinking of screens.
Screens.
Screens, yeah. Screens.
Little screens here and there, that you run.
Yeah.
It's going to open it up too. So that's the best way to try to negate it, because we're a first pass team. Get their running game going. Being more creative with the running game and so forth. Like you said, to negate that pass rush, because it's going to be their strength, right? It is. But Sammy's going to be back, and I heard you say something about Le'Veon. Look, I'm gonna say this. Yeah. Look, it's the Super Bowl. Everybody's gonna feel good for this game, right? You're gonna see everybody come out from work. I'm good for this.
I'm ready to get out there.
Are you sure you're good? I'm good.
I'll pull both hands straight. No, I'm good.
Three snaps max.
Right.
Yeah. All I got is the run out in the intro. And maybe one lead. That's it. I'm coming out like this. One lead block. And then what happened in the game? Shoot, you just got knocked out.
Yeah, you got the face paint on and everything. You know what I'm saying?
I'm talking about taped up. Yeah. Yep. I got all of that. One play. Done.
Now, so talking about I guess the pass rush aspect and why the concern there. Even when we did have Fisher, remember the second half of that Buccaneers game, they started to mount a comeback where they were getting pressure without blitzing. And I remember we were driving at one point. They had the strip sack on Mahomes. They got the ball back and they scored on that drive. That's just something that they have the ability to get after the quarterback. But now, and I will say this, I think we were talking about the Buccaneers, great defense, great pass rush, but everyone said the same thing about the Niners last year, and I think the Niners pass rush and defense was more formidable than the Tampa Bay defense that we're looking at now. So maybe it's just it's because that's the opponent we're seeing right now. We're maybe fans and certain analysts are overblowing what we're seeing with Tampa, but I think the Niners defense last year doesn't even compare to what we're seeing with Tampa this year. Eric, you were not there.
No, I was gonna say, we was down almost 2 scores going to the fourth quarter.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
So that was the thing about it. Those guys coming back, and I just watched the game over again because I had to see it, man. It was just so much energy watching the Super Bowl, and I was just looking at it, I'm like, man, I had no idea it was down by 2 scores going to the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
Like 8 minutes left in the game. I mean, that's how it was, because the pass rush was so dynamic. Bosa was getting in there, the other guy was getting in there, so they was handling Kansas City pretty handily offensively, and then of course Tyreek hits a big one, right? And then Kelsey got one and scored a touchdown. And then once they got the momentum, it seemed like San Francisco, you had to rely on Garoppolo, which you really didn't want to do. You didn't want to put in that guy's hand. And, he came out there, it was shaky, and you could see it. So this ain't look, Tom Brady's a whole different animal than Jimmy Garoppolo, right? So that's the thing about it. Tom, that joke ain't going steady. Hey, ice in his veins, man. So it's
I can't say Tom has been on steady time this year, because he been out there giving that thing away like Jameis Winston was last year a little bit. So
hey, throw him up. We'll take him.
I will agree that he is. I will agree that he is great for what he does in these big moment games. But he has this year. He's like I said. I don't know if it's a Tampa-based system, but man, he fell right along that and just was throwing that thing away just like Jameis. So, I mean, if we're in position, we can make the plays, because he's definitely going to throw it away. But they got a great team. They got a great guy leading it that's been there 10 plus times. So he knows what it takes. But yet we were there last year, so we know what it takes.
Yeah.
All right, so our next concern, it's been kind of a slow week as far as, the media aspect of it with, getting players to comment on certain players. But, we talked about bulletin board material on the show. And yesterday, Scotty Miller, the receiver for the Buccaneers, was on, I think, that Dan Patrick show. He was on a show, and he was telling the announcer that he's faster than Tyreek Hill. He's the fastest player in the league. And I know that over the last 2 days, they've been trying to get our players to comment on it. Dan Patrick asked Mahomes about it. Mahomes just giggled and he goes, well, I'm glad he's confident, and but I'll take my guy. And Tyreek Hill also applauded Scotty Miller saying that as well. I mean, is this bulletin board material for Tyreek Hill, or I mean, is this just like one of those things he's to laugh about, or is this anything that he can use to his advantage going into the Super Bowl?
Yeah, I don't. I've always been a player. I just never believed in bulletin board material, especially in the Super Bowl. If you need some motivation to get up for the Super Bowl, then you're in the wrong sport. For me, I've never played harder or go try to block someone harder because they made a comment. You're gonna go out and play. That's fun. It's good to talk about. Leading. There's always gonna be a storyline in the Super Bowl. Hopefully, everything leading up to this Super Bowl is positive, because unfortunately sometimes there's some negative things that come up. You don't need no. I don't think. You don't need no motivation for it. If you need motivation for the Super Bowl, especially if you're talking about two guys racing each other, like what's the point? Like,
if you want some bulletin board material, you really want some bulletin board material, you go back and watch that Shannon Sharp and Ray Buchanan when the boys went at it. That's the kind of jump talk that you want.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Yeah, you know what, man? To be honest with you, like T-Rich said, man, it's entertainment. It's entertaining. That's good. First off, what they asked him what he was smoking before he got into the studio. Like, what you on? What you smoking right now?
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah. And then, and two, is he like? He's not that top guy to be like really talking that much noise. So to him, it's like, yeah, tongue in cheek. Hey, I'm passing the Tyreek Hill. Okay, all right, we'll play the game. Sure.
But it ain't got nothing to do with the game, though. It has nothing to do with the game.
It's all entertainment. And look, he's trying to make good TV. That's good. That's all right.
Oh, yeah.
Neither one is going to cover each other.
No.
At all.
No. So, matter of fact, if I was Tyreek Hill, I'd say, look, you got to start below me before you even think about getting to me first, right? He got to start
exactly.
Merkel, you got to start with, some of these other guys first before you get to me. So
he might not be able to run Tyreek.
One big play right before halftime, and now he's a somebody, And I don't mean that.
He might not be able to beat
disrespectful way, but
yeah, he might not be able to outrun Kelsey.
Do I?
He might not be able to outrun Kelsey.
I don't know about that,
No, you're right. Hey, like you said, he caught one against King, but everybody was eating King's lunch too, man. I felt bad for him.
Yeah.
Up there at Green Bay, I feel bad for King, man. I was like, oh Lord, he got torched again. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
20?
They were like him out. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it's funny what you said about the bulletin board material, Tony. That earlier before we got on the show, Chris Jones was doing his media time, and he was talking about how he looks for motivation, where he goes to Twitter and he gets a lot of his motivation through seeing tweets that negative tweets about him that fuels his fire. He said.
Yeah. I mean, if that's some players do that thing. Funny enough, so working with Legends community, John Randall is obviously in Minnesota. And so John, the same thing, but he wouldn't go to Twitter. He would go to the media guide and find out stuff about players, like what kind of car they drive. He tells me all kind of stories about what kind of car they drive. He said he was telling me this one story. He had this one guy, and he was a rookie, and he had told a rookie he knew exactly what 2 cars he just bought. He told him that he broke into the locker, had somebody break in the locker and stole his car keys. and the second half of the game, the rookie was so scared. John was in his head all first quarter. And the second half, he didn't come out the locker room. He was so scared. He thought John had got to his house and got. He's like, man, how does man know what I drive? So, John was just one of those guys. But if Chris Jones said he needs more, I don't think. When they turn the lights on in Tampa and they strike, Jimmy said, when they strike up the band, he's going to be ready to go. Yeah,
that's it. That's all you need.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah.
So we're going to go to a little bit, staying with the Chiefs topics, but this is something that people are already talking about, in case we do win, the potential of going back-to-back and then going back-to-back to three-peating next year. We're going to bring back pretty much our entire coaching staff. It's pretty much seal a deal that Eric Bieniemy is not going to be getting a head coaching job this year. So everyone's, a lot of fans are happy that, he'll be coming back, but also disappointed that he didn't get a job. And now with this, the coaching vacancies, only 2 minority coaches was Coach Saleh for New York Jets, and then Coach David Culley with the Houston Texans, which that was the #1 job for Bieniemy, which he didn't get. What does it kind of say to you that I guess how disappointed are you that Coach Bieniemy didn't get a look at a head coaching position this year? What does that kind of say to you guys?
To me, it's very disappointing. And in my own selfish way, I'm kind of happy he's still with the Chiefs. But as an overall goal of his, I mean, everybody wants to be in that position to lead their own team, especially when you work so hard and put in the years and the times that he has. And he's also put in the grit because he's the next player. So yes, I think he's earned his way, his way into a head coaching position, and to have such a successful career lately as of, what he's accomplished in the last few years just with the Chiefs, I think he would have been a front runner. And just to see how so many teams have passed on him, and so many other, African-American coaches that have been passed upon, it's kind of disgusting to see it. I don't know what goes through the heads and minds of these owners and franchises as to why they don't want to take chances on a black coach. But we put in the same work, we put in the same time. We're just not given the same opportunities. And that's kind of sad to see that we're still, and especially with so much of what we've gone through, not to bring up anything negative, but with the Trump administration and what, how that exposed so many people to racism and hatred, and the Black Lives Matter stuff and all that stuff that came up, and how the NBA has taken a hold of, letting players wear these logos and names on their gear. You think we've come such a long way, but then you look at where we are with the minority coaches in the NFL, and we're far away from where we thought we were.
Yeah, I would have to agree. And like I said, I had EB as my running back coach, and just saw when I was in Minnesota, and just saw how disciplined he was, how much of a people person he was, what is. The X's and O part of it. I mean, he coached Adrian Peterson. I mean, I got a football on my deal where we rushed for 395 yards. AP had like 300 of them. You know what I mean? So it's like he knows how to work with that star player. AP was a 5th pick of the draft. Then obviously you fast forward to Patrick Mahomes and having a 1st-round quarterback and having to deal with and Alex Smith, and having to make that transition and then working with Patrick Mahomes. And Patrick Mahomes has nothing but positive things to say about EB. And, you can say he's a coordinator, he's not calling the plays. He's been, he's standing by Andy Reid at all times. You know what I mean? So I think for me, like I said, it's very disappointing, because here's a man that I know is qualified. He's put the time in, not only as a player, but as a coach as well, and he deserves it. And I don't know what else. I don't know what else he needs to do. And so it's very sad. And, obviously we still got so much work to do. And you look at, I think, what do we have? 3 African-American head coaches in the league now, which is out of 32. And that's a shame. I mean, you got Mike Tomlin, the new coach in Dolphins. Yeah. So you got 3 African-American coaches. That's it. 3. And that's a shame. It's sad. It really is, where our league is 74%, African-American players, and we have 3, 1 just got hired today. So that's really an embarrassment on the league, and we just still have a lot more work to do.
You know what, man? It really tells about, like he was talking about, how far we really have to go. And so you have to really have a deep, serious conversation of why this keeps happening. And to me, to be honest with you, it's not even just the fact that we're not hiring African-American coaches. It's also the fact that you're getting guys who's not even really qualified to be coaches in the NFL. Yeah. I mean, we're getting guys who's in their 30 years old, in their 30s, coming from college, to be head coaches in the NFL. Like when you're talking about, the standard that you're looking for. And when I look at it, and I'm sure these guys agree with me, when you got a guy in front of you who's going to be your coach, that commands respect, who has a body of work like EB does. I mean, guys are going to always instantly relate to a guy like that, right? So you got this guy that's coming in who doesn't really have a body of work, hadn't really put the time in, and you're trying to get like instant credibility. It's just gonna be hard, and especially dealing with veterans. I don't know if I'm sitting over there in the locker room in the meeting room. I'm looking at a guy who's 30-something years old, and I'm sitting there like, man, you just a few years older than my oldest child. You sitting over here trying to tell me what to do, and I'm supposed to be motivated by you? It just really misses me, when I hear things like it and I see it, because it really has to go into the conversation about what is it that, guys are not doing, and you can't really change anybody's heart and their mind, right? Even regardless of all the social justice issues that we've been dealing with, guys are still going to have that same stigma about, well, I don't think this guy right here is qualified to do the job. Well, why not? What is it about him that is telling you that he's not qualified to do the job? And what is it about African-American coaches that's telling you they can't run my football team? So it's really, it's really disheartening to see that, it's abhorrent. It really is. Not to mention, just not in the NFL, but in college football as well. I mean, we know guys are, extremely qualified to be put in a position to run a team. And so we know for a fact that, when guys do come in as African-American coaches, shoot, you got to work extra hard just to keep that job, right? You don't necessarily have the safety net, to lose games where something happens that all of a sudden, if he's not having a successful season, then all of a sudden he gets canned and they don't have a chance to go somewhere else to get a head coaching job. But David Culley was up in Philly when I was there. Look, David's a great guy. He really is. And I understand the Chiefs, want EB to still be there is just a selfish part of it. But everybody knows, man, he deserves a head coaching job. I don't even know how you feel.
I'm going to say something crazy about this situation.
Okay.
So the craziest thing about EB not going anywhere, we know Andy Reid's up there in age. Don't know how much longer he's going to be around. We know that Eric Bieniemy's got a great relationship with Patrick Mahomes. Who's to say he can't, convince Patrick to leave and come with him at some point? If you're trying to build towards winning a championship, you already know that Patrick is a great piece.
Mm-hmm.
You know what helped Patrick get there, and that's EB. Whether it's Andy Reid's the head of it or not, we already know the where Eric Bieniemy sits at within that organization, how much he means to that organization, how much he means to those players, how he communicates to those players. How you miss out on something that big, I don't see it. I don't understand it. So
that's the selfish part, though, E. That's exactly that's the selfish part. So he has so much he can give. If he goes down to Houston, right, Deshaun Watson staying. No question about it, right? And he's sitting there like, look, now you got the guy in here that I want, that I can, he can rally me up. If he can do anything for me, what he's done for Patrick Mahomes, man, keep him here, right? The city would want something like that. But then all of a sudden, and like the selfish attitude of like, look, I want you to stay here. But look, man, he can do a whole lot for the entire league. I don't care where he goes. He's going to be successful and deal with these guys, any organization that he goes into. So I think that's the point you're making, right? Is that what you're kind of saying?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
We're not going to lose Patrick Mahomes no matter what. I was just throwing a little scenario out there.
but how funny is it if you're in a Houston locker room? I heard this on TV today. So the new head coach in Houston, he's 65. That's not a 10-year plan. That's a pack. He's 65. So the grind of what it takes to be a head coach in this league. And he's 65 years old. He ain't coaching until he's 75. So if I'm a young guy like Deshaun, I want to get out of there because he's 24, 25. And, he's going like, okay, so in 2 years, 3 years, I'm going to have a new head coach. Like, why are we going to try to build something? And this cat, you don't, how many 67-year coaches, 70-year-old coaches you have in the league? You can't keep up with that pace. So it's a poor hire. I'm not going to say I shouldn't say it's a poor hire because I know he's qualified. I just think if for the players in that locker room, the J.J. Watt, guys that, their future, they want to win. Not saying he won't win, but, what's our long term? That's not the long-term hire when you hire a 65-year-old head coach.
Sure.
And he's not if he Dick Vermeil, you can do that because Dick Vermeil just come back from winning the Super Bowl. But you got a coach now that's never been a coordinator nor a head coach.
And T. Rich, I don't want it to come across like you talking like discrediting this coach because he is an American coach, and I think he should be given the opportunity. But we're talking more as to what Eric Bieniemy was kind of slighted on. Like, there's no way this man should have not been picked up or at least on any team right now.
Man, no doubt. I'll give you the perfect example. Vrabel. Vrabel's coming in, a young guy in his 40s. EB's 50, 52, something like that. I mean, he's relatively young, And so we're talking about a guy that's in that realm and in that age where you come in who's played the ball before. The guys can actually lock into and say, look, you've done it before. If I know that look, you've been in that grind. You're strapped it on. So I know immediately I'm sitting over here saying, look, this guy right here knows exactly what it takes to win a championship. He's been there. He's been in the fire before. He's been forged by it. And so I have a hard time when I'm sitting there and I'm looking at guys kind of, I don't really say pencil pushers or pencil necks, trying to come in and trying to assert some type of, credibility when you just don't really have it. I mean, seriously, I just really have an issue and a problem with that. And also too, going to like David Culley's age, 65 years old. Why did it take him so long at 65? Yeah. I mean, David Culley's been coaching for a long time, Yeah.
It's funny, Stephen A. Smith, and I'm glad you brought that point up, because we're standing on the table, we applaud that an African-American coach got the job, but it's almost like when we get the job, they put us in a position to fail. You know what I mean? Because you already know he's going to have a short leash. He's 65 years old. They're not giving him a 10-year plan to turn this organization around. You know what I mean? So he's going to have a 1 year, a 2 year, a 3 year. And so why do we have to get the jobs that they set you up to fail? You know what I mean? Like, he's not getting at 65, he's not getting the Chargers job where you got arguably the quarterback rookie of the year that you're going to build. He can't get that job, but you're going to get the job where it's dysfunction, like all the stuff that's been reported in Houston is dysfunction. JJ Watt's calling out people. Deshaun wants to leave, and then now you're gonna give him this job, and he got a no-win situation. Now the quarterback wants out. Who you gonna have? Now he's starting from scratch. He's gonna have a 2 year, 3 year leash, and then then we're gonna be back at this. We're gonna be back there again, and we'll fight. Yeah, exactly. And that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
And I think one of the sicker parts about the whole thing is, like the thing for years is Stephen A. Smith always talks about it. The African-American quarterback, if you go back to it, everyone always says, oh, they're not smart enough to play quarterback. That's been a long time thing going back to the 70s and 80s, right? Mm-hmm. And then you recycle that and put it and frame it into what's going on right now. The rumors of Coach Bieniemy not being a good interviewer, but then you see him respond back to a question, and he had this really eloquent response about how he wants to be. Of course, he wants to be a head coach in this league. But then you look at the Detroit Lions. I'm not trying to dog any coach here, but you look at the Detroit Lions head coach.
Bite your ankle.
Yeah, bite your kneecaps.
What is that?
Bite your kneecap. Hey, he got 4 personal fouls. He already done struck out the game. Like, dude, you out. Man, talking about biting you. You knocked me down. I'm gonna bite you again. Like, you can't be out here biting people. Yeah.
You're saying Coach Bieniemy is not a good interviewer, but yet that guy. I mean, I'm not talking about. I'm just going by his press conference. But that guy's a better interviewer than Coach Bieniemy.
He damn near speaking bounty gate, what they call that.
Right, yeah.
The bounty gate, yeah. biting people ankles.
They was coming to Mike like, hold on, wait a minute, you can't say that. Wait a minute, hold on.
Hey. You cannot say that. You'll bite somebody's kneecap.
Right. It's disheartening, man, to really see it. To be honest with you, it really is. And that's what I'm talking about, man. You got to have a real meaty conversation about why these things happen. And the crazy part is because, and T. Rich knows this, you have so many programs in NFL for guys to kind of get put in positions to help out. They have the Rooney Rule and whatnot, but is it just let me appease guys for this moment to bring them in and say, okay, but you're not really truly trying to hire me? You just bring me as a token because you got to fit this quota. I think it's just we got to have a real deep conversation about what's going on right now in the NFL.
Yeah, it's sad,
it's
man.
Funny,
even
funny.
like with Atlanta turns they get rid of their head coach and they Raheem Morris takes over as interim coach. They weren't a great team, but heck, he at least turns around and make them play. They played harder than they had played first half of the season, and I thought he'd get the job. They just look right over him.
Yeah, it's funny because JD, you made a good point that the criteria every year it changes. So they're like, okay, well, you got to be a coordinator. Okay, EB's a coordinator. Oh, you got to work with the quarterback. Okay, EB works with the quarterback. Like, what else? Like, it's like, what else you want him to do? Do you want him to, I don't know what else, because that's what they always say. Like, okay, to get a head coaching job, you got to be the defense coordinator, offense coordinator. Okay, EB's the offense coordinator. Okay, well, you got to be able to work with the quarterback. You got the best quarterback.
You got to go through the grounds crew right now.
Here.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, what else you got? That's what I'm saying. Okay, do you cut the grass too? Yeah, do you cut the grass? Do you know how to tape ankles? Okay, all right. Yeah.
I think I did the math from the time that Mike Vrabel left Kansas City. He was fast tracked to a head coaching job, I think, within 5 years, 5 or 6 years.
Vrabel's done a good job. I take nothing from Vrabel.
No, and I'm not saying that though. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that. Look, without a doubt, he earned that. But why is it that when you're sitting there, you're trying to consider other guys who could have easily been in that position? Shoot, I play with Deuce Staley. How come Philly you ain't trying to get Deuce Staley up there in Philly?
Yeah,
come on, man.
That hurt me. That hurt me, bro. That hurt me.
Yeah, man. They was wrong for that.
That hurt me. Yeah,
they was wrong for that. Seriously,
that hurt me.
Up. Yeah,
and the fact that how they did him, dude, because it's like, okay, he interviewed for a coordinator, didn't get that. Then he interviewed for a head coach job, didn't get. I'm like, come on, man, don't do that, man, like that. That man's been nothing but loyal. Knows the heartbeat of the team. All the players, like he had players that weren't even on the team, trying to talk to the owner, like, man, this is the guy you got to hire, and then you go get a guy. Yeah, that's a whole different conversation.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at, everyone always has their own theories on things. People think, look, maybe this is a blessing in disguise. Maybe Coach Reed retires after next year, and then boom, he hands the keys to the kingdom to Coach Bieniemy. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe, but yeah.
How long you got to wait? How long you got to wait till the guy?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Please.
Mahomes
because honestly, if I'm Andy Reid, I'm not leaving until that contract is up.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm not leaving until Patrick Mahomes. I'm riding.
That's what I'm talking about. Patrick Mahomes contract.
I'm riding that mug until they run out of Jack Stack barbecue. I ain't going nowhere. You know they ain't running out of Jack Stack. Yeah, I'm riding that.
Rolling out there in the wheelchair.
Exactly. Calling plays from the car.
Yeah, just the last thought on that for me is that I think that for years I talked about the quarterback aspect. I think now in 2020, I think the African American quarterbacks have kicked that barrier, and got that out of the way. All Russell Wilson, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson. I'm definitely forgetting others, but those are the top. Deshaun Watson. Those are the top quarterbacks in the league. So the African American quarterbacks can't play. Okay, so now the new enemy is the fact that maybe Coach Bieniemy he doesn't interview well. Is that the modern day version of African American quarterbacks can't play in the NFL? We have Coach.
I don't know what criteria that they're going through. With interviews. Overall, it's still saddening to see that you don't have enough of our faces leading teams on Sundays. Being that we've put the work in, we put the time in. Those playbooks aren't easy, and having to relate to those players isn't easy. But these guys have dedicated themselves to the game and to the players, and I'm pretty sure they do a really, really good job of leading a team throughout the season. But they're just not given a chance.
Yeah, and I think that you're talking about interview well. To me, the number one criteria is wins and losses. We're in a performance business. Yeah. So you want me to interview well and knock your socks off in the interview and go,
and lose.
And lose. Yeah, you want me to go 2-14 and 1-15 and lose because I interview well? Like, nah, I'm not buying that at all. It's just another excuse. But in Houston, that's the same owner that said, don't let the prisoners run the asylum. Like, that's yeah. So you talk about stuff like that. So there's obviously some deep ingrained stuff that, that's for a whole nother podcast.
Yeah, it's like it's a proof's in the pudding. Look at Coach Bieniemy's body of work, and that's it. And interviewing well, hearing the guy talk, I can listen to Coach Bieniemy talk at a press conference all day long. So I don't know how he's interviewing. So it's
I think his resume speaks for itself.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah, and I will say, being part Middle Eastern myself, it's nice to see Coach Saleh get a head coaching job.
That was good hire.
Yeah. Oh yeah, big time.
And that was one of the guys Watson wanted Houston interview. He said Coach Bieniemy and Coach Saleh, those are the two guys, and I don't think they interviewed either one of them. Or they did interview Bieniemy after the fact, after that made the press. So.
Oh yeah, it was that token. It was that. I hate to use the word token.
Right.
That's that token. That's that. But the sad part about it is because and the sad part about it, which is funny, I didn't even realize this, that the majority of interviews were over Zoom. So you can't even take a 2-hour out of your day to interview this man over Zoom, like what we're doing right now. Like that should have been one of your first interviews. It's 2 hours out of your day. You're not flying them in, on the private plane, and you got to take them out to what Jimmy Ray say, that Ruth Chris place, and that Capitol Capital Houston. No, Jimmy, that's Houston's and Capital Grill. Those are two different. But yeah, I see you down there at the Capital Houston. No, man, I'm at Houston. So it's not like you're not doing all that. You're not having them to the facility. Like it's a 2-hour block of your time to sit and you can interview as many candidates as you like. And the fact that they didn't even do that, until the end when they got so much press is very disappointing.
Well, hopefully Coach Bieniemy gets a job, head coaching gig next year. But, as selfish as a Chief fan, it's good. It'll be nice to have him back next year. But hopefully he gets that gig that, the gig is perfect for him next year. If it's not staying in Kansas City, being the head coach, if Coach Reed decides to move on. But we're going to go to our final segment, which is our Chiefs Kingdom Concern segment, where I look at all the Chiefs Kingdom hot takes and get each of you to respond to one. Our first Chiefs Kingdom Concern is actually specific for you, JD. At Ghost of Horror tweeted at our account this week. He said, "It's early in the week, but don't forget about me. I have a question for the podcast for JD. With both Kansas City starting tackles down, what do the Chiefs need to do with their extra tight ends or blocking scheme to compensate?" Obviously, he would know. You are the master in this.
Oh, yeah. So, you know what? I've been watching a lot of the blocking tight ends, just throughout the entire league. And you can bring an extra tight end, an extra body in. But I'm going to be a little bit critical here. Some of the blockings from, the tight ends from Kansas City have been kind of abysmal. It really has been. So I think if they do a much better job, this game right here, you had to come in, you actually got to put a body up on a guy. So that is something that you could possibly do. Bring another tight end in, plus it gives you the element of maybe like a screen pass to the tight end, or maybe just a lead pass that you may need in case of bringing the pressure. But also too, like we were just talking about before, you got to slide the protection to certain guys, and then actually, keep that extra back in too, because you just don't want to, mess with the integrity of what you do offensively, where you had to do max protection. I don't think you had to get to that point, but yeah, extra tight end, and then of course that back coming in with the chip is going to be able to help. But also too, like T-Rich said, you can't do like a 7-step drop. Those guys are fast enough to get open, so get the ball out your hand quick, find the windows and the holes. Let's go. Let's move the chains. So that's what it would be. But hopefully, tight ends, backup tight ends, 48, do a much better job. Period.
T-Rich, do you think they could bring in to get some Sherman some more burn this week to to help out if we were having troubles with the tackles?
Yeah, obviously, as JD said, when you can get extra tight end involved or your fullback, there's different things that you can do, like chipping on the way out, being in the B gap. But that's not really that. It's funny that, like JD said, you don't really want to change your scheme because the Chiefs have never really been a max protection screen. Where you just have like two receiver route open, and if they're not open, you not. I think they're gonna keep the offense, like Jimmy Ray would say, open it up. I think they're gonna continue to keep it open, and just play the game. But there's some things you can do because you see the creativity of the underneath shovel pass. Sherman caught one, Kelsey caught one. There's so many things you can do, and I think JD made a great point early on. Is like you got to make them cover every blade of grass. So you're not gonna play in a phone booth. So there's so many different ways to be able to control that pass rush. But the key thing is you just got to stay above the sticks, and you got to stay above the scoreboard, because you don't want to get into a 17-3 game and you got to drop back 7-step drop. That's not going to work well. But I think having Sherman in the game and just helping out, I think that would definitely occasionally. I don't think we need to line up in two tight ends and a fullback and a tailback and put Mahomes in the eye. We ain't doing that. So them days over.
Now I think that with JPP and Shaq Barrett, their speed coming up the field, it kind of hurts them. So I don't know if we want to don't get away from the offensive game plan. We've already seen every game this season. Patrick is almost more dangerous outside the pocket than he is. So the defensive line has got to play more honest and not try to get the field too fast on him. Because once he's out of the pocket, now your entire defense is held captive, and he's going to pick you apart. Whether it's take off running and get those crucial chunk yards, or he's going to throw some phenomenal pass down the field. So it's a matter of Tampa knowing that they can't get up the field too fast anyway, because once he's out of the pocket, he's almost as dangerous as he is in the pocket.
All right. Next Chiefs Kingdom concern is from @Matt Verderami. He tweeted, "I'm watching the all 22 of the Kansas City Buffalo game, and the Chiefs' secondary, both in man and zone concepts, was extraordinary. It was a masterclass." Eric, what did you notice from the secondary this past weekend?
They played well. Every guy was disciplined. They held tight to coverage. Zone coverage was also there and sat well. We just got to play that way throughout the Super Bowl game. I thought Tyrann Mathieu stepped up and played really well. He was in the backfield a lot, created some havoc in the backfield against Buffalo, and he's been a playmaker for us all year. And Sorensen is the one that's really stepped up this season to prove that he's worthy of holding it down and hopefully coming back next year. So I like what we have. We got some great young corners. The two safeties together play well together. We have Tyrann that just had free range of motion to either drop in cover somebody man to man, or he's blitzing in the backfield. And Sorensen has been a difference maker also with some big picks. So I just like the discipline that we've had. The coverage schemes have been great. Nothing crazy. We don't have corners out there blitzing and defensive ends dropping into deep third. So we've done a good job of play calling defensive wise, and the guys have lived up to it.
JD, Tony, you guys notice anything from the secondary?
No, yes.
Go ahead, Rich.
No, I was going to say, it's funny, I think it was a Cleveland game, and there was a clip they were showing, and the Honey Badger came down, and the tackle just waylaid him. And he got up and was like jumping around. He was like, tackle for a loss. So when you have stuff like that, because he's a tempo setter. When you got safeties to come down, and I mean, he got like blew up. Like
he got punished.
That sec makes it have you got jacked up. They don't do that no more because of concussions. But the thing about it is he realized where he fits in. Like, okay, you got to take that for the team, because obviously by you taking up that tackle, then or the guard, whoever pull, that allows someone else to come make the play. So they're working well together. To me, Honey Badger is having I guess he did make All-Pro. He's having an incredible season, and those guys are working well together. And and that's where the communication. They just have to be on the same page. No blows, time, just different things like that, which they've been really, really good. The second half of the season. So I like the secondary, how they're playing.
Man, I think this is for the secondary to step up this week. I mean, they got a tough road ahead of them. You got Evans, you got Miller,
Goodwin,
you got Gronk, you got Goodwin.
AB
is AB coming back?
Yep.
So AB is back too.
So it's going to be tough for them, man. They're going to be put out there, man. So it's going to be a great competitive game for them to see what they can necessarily do. Thornhill played a great game, like you said. Honey Badger came down into the box. So they're going to have a running game, too. They're going to run the football with Fournette and the other guy, I can't think of his name.
Tom.
Yeah. And so.
Man, Fournette getting it done.
Yeah.
I thought he was kind of, leaving Jacksonville and then kind of slowed it. The last few games in the playoffs, man, that cat's been coming on. He's going to be something we got to deal with.
Right.
Yeah, he gets downhill fast.
Yeah.
Man.
So it's going to be a great game, man. Great matchup. Good competition, good challenge for them. So we'll just have to see, man. We'll just have to see. But those guys are playing at a high level right now. So I like the secondary for the Chiefs. I do.
Awesome. All right, guys, that does it for part 1 of our 2-week Super Bowl preview. We'll see you next week where we continue our Super Bowl preview and get down to the Super Bowl predictions. I'm sure everyone knows where our guys are going to go for this one. If anyone in Chiefs Kingdom has any Chief concerns for these guys, please tweet at us at @ConcernsChief, and please subscribe and follow Chief Concerns on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Tony, it was an honor to have you on the show, man.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, my brother. Appreciate it, my brother. Yeah, man.
Yeah, it's always good to see the Green-Eyed Bandit and see the man who's going to be late to his 200-year-old funeral. So, it was good, man. This is good stuff. I love the platform. You guys are doing a really good job.